So first of all, let's start off with the definition of what comping is. And like I said, it came from what they call comparative market analysis. And a comparative market analysis, also known as the CMA, is the estimate of a home's value based upon recently sold. Now this is important. Recently sold similar properties in the immediate area, right? And so a comparative market analysis is an estimate of a home value used to help sellers get listing price and to help buyers make a competitive offer, right? So the main things is that you're gonna worry about the location, the age, the size, and the construction style, and the condition, right? So what we mainly do when we're, as an investor, you're looking for what the repair value is gonna be of the home. And we call that ARV, after repair value. Reason is because you know that after you spend the amount of money that you need to get the property up to speed, that's what the property is going to be, and that's what we use off. So one of my favorite tools that I like to use every day in real estate is PropStream. And so if you don't have PropStream, make sure you go over to maxpropertydata.com and get your 7-day free trial. And you can try this for 7 days for absolutely free without any risk. So let's go in here and jump right into comping a property, all right? So what happens is I put in an address. Hopefully I've been automatically logged out. So let's jump to the camera. Let's just log back in here. So I picked the property in the neighborhood that I actually did one of my first deals in, and it was a neighborhood that I actually lived in. And so I'm going to show you exactly how I would just get a phone call or I would find a property and how I would go out there and actually comp this property. And remember, if we go back to the definition, we're worried about location, age, size, construction style, and condition. Now the condition really doesn't matter to us too much for investors. Obviously it does play a factor in the actual price we're going to purchase it for, but it's not a big deal as far as, right? So I'm gonna pick this property, 143 Flintfield Drive. Why did I pick this property? Because I actually grew up in this house, right? And so that's why I just picked it randomly. So if you're looking at the screen should be up on the live right now. This is what happens when you put in an address of a property. The green button is your actual property. And if we zoom in just a little bit, you start to see it breaks it down the street here, and you're starting to see what the property looks like, okay? So I grew up in a house that's right here. And if you look to the right, it's giving you the details of the property. Now what it's gonna give you spit out automatically is what they call an estimated value. This necessarily is not gonna be the actual value, because you still got to go in and do your homework, because we're going to look at the recently sold. Even though the algorithm of this tries to do that, I'm going to show you how to do it by hand so you can do it. Now this is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, right? And so what's important, remember we talked about location, size, and all that, right? So we're gonna start off with, it's a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 1,197 square feet, so basically 1,200 square feet, built in 1967, okay? So we got the size of the property, the location, we know where it's at because we got it here. And it's a cool thing about PropStream is telling you what the estimated equity is based upon what the guess of the what the mortgage balance is versus what it's worth, right? So once you have that, you're gonna go into the detail button. Let me get this on. So we're gonna go into the detail button, and it's gonna tell you everything about the property just like we've seen before. Bedrooms, the bath, the lot size, the size of the house, its estimated value, which we're really not gonna pay too much attention to just because we're gonna go out and get our own comps. So back here, this is important. All of this whole thing right here is important. And it says opportunity. Don't really worry too much about that right now, but it does give you like an estimated rent. Now you may need that for if you want to talk about it as a rental property, but we're not worried about that right now, okay? And so we're gonna go into and hit the comp button, comparables and nearby listings, right? So we're gonna click on that right here. And we're gonna start to narrow this thing down as much as possible. So right off the bat, you get to pick between public records, MLS, or both. Now, since I live in what they call a disclosure state, all property sales are recorded down at the courthouse, and that number of the sale price is actually disclosed. If you live in a state that's not, you're gonna have to use the MLS button. So I'm gonna use the public record data, and as you can see here, I'm gonna go through and pick which properties, and I'm gonna start putting my, right here at the comparable search, right? So you're gonna go right here to this comparable search, and this is important. I'm gonna start setting the parameters of exactly what I want the property to go in, because I want to have like properties, and I want to set my own comps. I want to set my own parameters. So one thing that it does, I think it goes up 20%, down 20% when it comes to square feet. So this square foot right here. And so before we do the square foot, we're going to talk about the sale date and range. So right now it automatically puts in 1 year. Now, I don't want to do 1 year. Okay, so I'm going to change, today is 9/8/21. I want to change this to something much closer than 9/8. And so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to go down for the last like 6 months. So if we go back from September, you have August. Let's see here. You have June, July, August, and September. So I'm going to go, let's just say July. And I want to see what it does. And it says it only shows 2 properties. So since it only's got 2 properties in the last 2 months, I'm going to go back a couple more months up to 6. I'm going to go to May 1st. And so now this thing has popped up a lot more properties. It's popped up 12. And so now I'm going to go square footage from 958 to 1400. So I guess it does 200 below, 200 above. And so the distance of the mile is a half. What I'm going to do is I'm going to keep it there for now. And then what I want to show you in this sheet here is on the subject property, I'm going to put this out. Now this is important when you're finding comps, right, as far as the area you select. And the reason is because anytime you have major roads, like this is a major road, this is obviously a highway, right? But everything inside here looks pretty similar, which all our comps are inside of this area, right? So you don't want anything beyond the major roads that you see, right? Because you know if you cross a road, if you end up crossing a road, it can be a completely different neighborhood. It can go from middle class to high class. So many things can change. So you want to keep the area tight, right? And so right now it's showing me only these, which is important, right? So let's go through this. We went through the date, the square foot, the distance, the minimum bedroom and bathroom. Now, if we look at our subject property, which is up here at the top here, it's a top field, 3 bedroom, 2.5 bath. So minimum bedrooms, I'm gonna put in 3. Maximum bedrooms, I'm only gonna go to 4. But if you wanna keep it real tight, let's do 3 and 3, right? So I only want 3 bedrooms in my search, and this 2.5 baths, so I'm gonna do anywhere from 2 to 3, all right? And I'm gonna leave the year built off right now. So we went with sale date, square foot, distance, bedroom, bath. Only want the status of sold. You can change this to residential properties only. Right? Public record, property type. You can change that to single family as well, just in case where you're at doesn't automatically do that for you. And I'm gonna leave the year built where it is right now. So right now it's found 5 properties. And what I wanna make sure that every single property is not duplicated, okay? So just narrowing down this field, I wanna stay within 6 months, 90 days if you can, if you have enough comps, 200 feet, square foot above, or I think there's a formula like 10% above, 10% below. Distance, you wanna keep that tight within that same neighborhood, try not to cross any of those major roads. Same bedrooms, baths, Bedrooms, bathrooms, you can go up one, but I'll show you what to do if you end up finding something that's a little bit different. And so now that it's got up here in white, it's got the property that I'm actually working with. So this is the property I'm working with. This is it's called the subject property. This subject property fits the criteria. All of these are single family because we did that. Public record. We know this is all in between May and now. And now we're going to start looking at the entire, complexity of the whole thing. We got a couple on the same street, Pitcher Court, Castlegate, Edenwood, Shenandoah. All right, so now we're going to say, let's scroll down a little bit. And in this column here is going to tell you the date that it sold. Right? So this is the date that it sold. You got May 3rd, you got July 2nd, May 20th, June 30th, May 28th. Now here's one thing that you want to look at, make sure everything is good. You got 3 bedrooms, all of them are 3 bedrooms because we kept that. We got, subject has 2.5 bath, everyone has, it's half and half. So you got 2 bath and 2.5 bath. They're within comparable, so you see that this one's bigger, this one's roughly a little bit bigger, this one's smaller, this one's a little bit bigger, but only by a little bit. And then you go to the year built, 1967. So a 1967 house doesn't really compare to a house, this is our subject property, it doesn't really compare exactly to a house that's built in 1996. It's newer, right? And so same with this one. And it even breaks it down. You're seeing that this house is getting $134 a square foot, $122 a square foot. But you're looking at the most recent one, $160, $170. So why did this one sell different? This one's, the lot size is a little bit bigger, built the same year. And then you have really the same characteristics. But here's the difference between these two. Only a couple square foot difference, so that doesn't really go into account much. The only thing is the lot size is a little bit bigger. And this one sold more recently, right? This one sold more recently by a little bit over almost 2 months. So that may show you a trend going downward, but don't get too complicated in that. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna clear off everything that I wrote. Right, and we're gonna keep moving. So now that we have comparable properties, let's kind of look. So here's something that sticks out to me as I'm doing comps right now. You got one that sold for 178, 215, 110, 160, kind of all over the board. And then you have this one that sold for 55,000. And then you're scratching your head and said, this doesn't make sense. And then you're gonna look where number 5 is. Number 5 on this board is in the same neighborhood. It's actually not too far at all. This is your subject property, and number 5 is over here. So you're in the same neighborhood. Why did this one, number 5, sell for 55 grand? So let's look at this. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go over to the details. We're gonna click on this property, and we're gonna see what happened. Right, and so now we're going into the details of this property just to kind of see what happened and why this property sold way below everything else. I told you my dog was going to be in the shop. Bentley out. So now that we're looking at this property details, same neighborhood, let's go to the mortgage and transaction history and see what happened. I see something. This property was purchased using cash. So, right, so if you can see this breakdown here, this property was bought using cash. So this was a cash buyer. It definitely must have been a fixer-upper. This guy just bought this house 4 months ago, cash. It was an arm's length transaction, so that means it was not in the family. And he paid $55,000 for it. So this person's got a heck of a deal. or it can be a cash buyer that you may need to add to your list, and you see their name here and everything about them, right? Or they could just be somebody that bought a fixer-upper themselves, all right? So when you're looking at, when you go back to the full compare analysis chart, I'm gonna take this one off. The reason being is it doesn't fit because it was a cash purchase. So I don't want to compare this one to everything else. It was a cash purchase, right? And so now I'm looking to say, okay, Flintfield, same neighborhood. We're gonna scroll over here. It's got 2.5 bath. This one sold for $178, but it was built in 1996 versus 1967. And then see if we have something that's even closer. So something that I like. What made this one sell for so much more money? Same lot size, built, it's a little bit newer, but not by much. 7 years, that's not much in house terms. It's probably just on a much better street, much more taken care of property, right? But we're gonna keep it in there. All right, so we took off, and now we're comparing 1, 2, 3, 4 properties. Okay, so let's look at the one that sold the most recent picture, which is built in 96. Let's look at this one here. It's gonna take a little while to load up here. And so now you're starting to dig deep. This is why people are afraid of doing comparative analysis. But when you do this so much, when you do it so often, you just want to compare apples to apples. At the end of the day, you don't want to take an orange and take an apple and try to compare them. You're trying to compare apples to apples. One of the big discrepancies, what I'm seeing now, is one house was built in 1967, one house was built in 1996. Now let's look at this property, the one that sold a little bit more. And then so you can click on the pictures. That's the cool thing about having PropStream. You can click on the pictures and see what happened. Trying to figure out how to scroll this. Okay, maybe I can't look at the pictures on this handy dandy board. But I guarantee you, if you're on your computer, you can look at the pictures and see exactly what happened. This one sold for 110. I think this is a little bit low. Just looking on the outside, I can tell it wasn't a rehab. Okay, so we know we're not gonna be at 178 because that's a newer house. We know this one, just by looking on the outside, it was not a fixer-upper, right? And so these two houses were built in, I'm gonna keep that one on. This one was built in 1996, that one was built in 1996. Now I'm not gonna eliminate these from my comps, I just know this is a newer house that we're going against. And so by eliminating these two properties and with this high comp here at 215, I really don't like that high comp, but I'm gonna make some adjustments based upon, that this house, something must be special about this house. And I don't know what it is, but I know it's not gonna sell for 215. And so when I'm looking at this, we know that this house was not fixed up. This was a cash sale, way too low. This one's a 1996. This one's a 1996. So we know we're gonna be cheaper than this one, more expensive than this one. And really what the algorithm is saying here is this house is probably worth about $162,000. It's taking all of that stuff and putting it together. And so because we eliminated this and it starts to compare apples to apples, it's gonna take away some points for this and that. 215, way out of the race. So what you don't do as a wholesaler is you look at the 215 and say, hey, this house is worth 215. It's kind of the most comparable. No, something is wrong. Something's up with this house. Why it's the best. Square footage looks the same. Let's see here, square footage of the house is the same, but 215's high. But you know what makes me think something? This is the most recent sale in the neighborhood and the most comparable. I would love to actually see, let me see if they have pictures on this one. I don't think they do because I don't see the picture icon. All right, cool, so just by looking at this property, it's a fully rehabbed property. Fully rehabbed property. Just by looking at these pictures, I can't see all of them, but I can, oh, boom, here we go, pictures. Look at that, fully rehabbed property. Granite countertops, brand new everything. Man, this looks like we did it. I wonder if this is our team. right? So you're talking new siding on the outside, bathrooms all done. So this is what this property can fetch. So now this changes a little bit. Fully rehab property, and this has got to be one of the new highs in the neighborhood. So for $215. Now let's jump back here. The data is telling me that Flintfield, our subject property, it's got 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 1,900, almost 1,200 square feet, same lot. We look at the most comp that I like the most recently sold, $215, which has got to be the new neighborhood high in there. 3-bedroom, 1 less half bath. Square footage is roughly the same. Lot size, a little bit newer. It's got $168 a square foot. That's amazing. That's actually crazy. So what this is telling me, so am I going to deduct any points? Equal here. This gets a plus. The bath gets a plus. The square feet, roughly the same. It's about 75 square foot less. So that gets a little minus. That's the same. This gets a little bit minus. So you start to calculate. So what I would say this house is probably worth is between 207 to 212. And so that's where my ARV is going to be for this property, which is a new high. Gotta be. So because same here when it comes to bed and baths, I got an extra half bath. I'm a little bit less on the square feet. Lot size is the same. This one's a little bit newer. So I'm going to just degrade the property just a little bit, downgrade it just a little bit from being where the $215 sale price that just happened in July in this crazy real estate market, 207 to 212 in that neighborhood. That's insane. Insane, because I did a flip on that house. I did a flip on that same street in 2017, and it sold for $135. But this house is a little bit bigger, but wow. So I hope this makes sense to you guys in the sense that it's not very hard. You just have to know the parameters of the things that you're going to be doing the most. As far as you're going to have to be comparing bedrooms, baths, square foot of the house, lot size, those type of things come into factor. And so a lot of people just are like, you know what? I don't want to just make the screen bigger. And we had that directly in, right? Yeah. Yeah. Sorry about the screen being small, but I zoomed in and used something different. So somebody said public record versus MLS. I talked about it. If you're in a disclosure state, you can use the public record. If you're in the MLS, you can actually click both. What happens is if you click both, it's going to show you sometimes duplicate of each property, and you're going to want to unclick the ones that are duplicates. All right. Max, would you comp a property live if we sent it? All right, Keith Alexander, you know what? Send me a property right now. Keith, send me a property right now in the comments, and I'll comp it for you right now. I'm gonna take about maybe 5 or 10 minutes if I can get this property in here. I'm gonna comp it live. Boom, all right, so it pops up. Let's see what we got. This is gonna be fun. All right, brand new property. I know nothing about Omaha, Nebraska. I've never been there. Maybe I have, but not on purpose. I think I have been to Omaha. All right, cool. Brand new property popped up, Crown Point, and remember what we said we're gonna go over, right? This house, let's point out some things real quick so we know exactly what it is. 2-bedroom, 1 bath, 644 square feet, lot 5, 65%, built in 1926. So old one, right? And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna click on comparables and nearby location, right? And the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna filter my date. Square foot is automatically set. And so here we go. We run into a problem where there's absolutely nothing. So this is a good thing to do. I'm actually gonna do both here because I don't know if Omaha is a disclosure or non-disclosure. And so right off the bat, I can tell you that some rules are gonna be broken because right now we have 0 comps and I haven't even started putting in the bedroom, right? So I need a minimum of 2 bedroom, 1 bath. I'm gonna max it out at 2. I'm gonna max that out at 3. I'm gonna go with sold only. All right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to expand all right, you see what I did? So because I'm guessing he's a non-disclosure state, Nebraska is, I had to click both or MLS, and this is giving me MLS data. As you can see right here, PropStream is gonna give you the MLS data, right? So it's gonna be pretty simple. I did the 2 bedroom, 3 bath. I did 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms up to 3 bedrooms, 1 bath up to 2 bath. And then, but here's some rules that I don't know this area, but look at this. Major road. I wouldn't cross it if I don't know the area. Now, if you know the area and you want to cross it because you know it's the same across that street, then that's fine. And so this doesn't look like a major road, but typically I wouldn't do it. So this isolates this property. And so this is, I don't think this is really a major road, but 1 and 2, for me, I would have to dump them out. But I don't know the area. And so sometimes across the street could be easy, but this looks like a parkway, like a highway. So typically I would definitely click these off. But I don't, like I said, I don't know the area. So I got 2 comps in the area. Now let's look at the 2 comps that I got. I got the 2 bottom ones, right? Bedrooms 3, bedrooms 2. Now, here's something about this one. This has 3 bedroom, our subject property has 2. This one has 3, that one has, this one has 2, that one has 3, right? Bath is 1, that's the same. Square foot's a little bit smaller. These ones are exactly the same. They're probably built at the same time. Lot size, 6,500, 54, 49, 1926, 1955. This is clearly older, and they're getting about between 71 and 76 square foot, dollars square foot, and these are what have been sold, okay? So on this property, not knowing the area, I'm gonna play it somewhat safe, and this property sold for 55, 59. I would put this property comped out in this area that I don't know between 50K and 55K. Right? And because it needs to be less than these 2, so it needs to have this range. And so if you look up at what PropStream gives you, saying 57, what's the average price of these 2 properties that I selected? But I did the math and I showed you, hey, look, this property is, you know, this one definitely has, and you see this one sold for a little bit more because it had an extra a bath, a bedroom. So you're gonna be somewhere between 50 and 55. I would say you could even go to even be a little bit, let's look at something real quick. And here's what another thing that you can get when you're using MLS data. Days on market. We can see that the 3 bedroom, these all sold, that sold just last month, 3 months ago. These are a little bit older. So this one lasted 8 days. Why? Because 3 bedrooms must be pretty rare in this area. So it got snatched up. This one took 45 days, right? And so I'm curious to see what the conditions of these homes are. Now I'm just pulling up to see if I get some MLS pictures. Hopefully we do, just to kind of see if these things were renovated or they're just being sold as rentals. I don't know if it's a rental community, so on and so forth. I guess I could tell by going back and looking and see if there's an absentee owner versus it being. All right, cool. So this is clearly some rental stuff. Yeah, rental. These are all rental properties. And so I could tell by going to click on details, which I was just at, I don't know why I came off of it. So occupancy occupied, and I can tell it's absentee owner because of the non-owner occupied status. The person that bought this, Joshua Scott, in a different part of Nebraska, but he bought it MLS financed as looks like a rental property. So I would price that somewhere between 48, maybe 55, all the way up, just depending on how crazy the actual market is there. So Keith, I hope that helped you out. I know that was kind of quick.